I am Danielle from Love Your Knitting Machine. We want you to get your knitting machine out of the closet and start using it today. So we are sharing a bunch of easy projects with you on this channel so that you can get started. So today I'm going to show you how to make this dishcloth. This one's a little bit bigger than the last one I showed you. It's also patterned. So the knit side looks like this, and the purl side looks like this. So it seems like that'll be nice and scrubby. It's a gorgeous color. I don't know what it'll look like after I'm washing dishes with it. So this is the yarn that we use for this. It is the Peaches and Cream Stripey, and it is Beach House. That's the color. It is a number 4. So I'm using my chunky machine knitter today. And the only tools that you need for this are scissors to cut your yarn. Well, you do need some waste yarn too. So what I did was I did some waste yarn, and then I did the patterning just with my machine. This is super easy. You can even do it with a machine that doesn't have the cam levers. All you would do is you'd have your needles out and hold, and then you'd have to push them back into work instead of having the machine do it for you. So here is the pattern. You're just pulling every other needle forward, you're knitting 3 rows, and then you're knitting all the needles. And so what that does is it loops the string over the needle. And then that 4th time, it pulls it all back and knits it all together. So super fun pattern. What would I do differently if I was going to make this again? I probably wouldn't use the waste yarn. That's really the only thing. So to bind off, I did a crocheted cast off, bind off. So in the beginning, I would do the same thing because I ended up doing the crocheted bind off anyway with my waste yarn in order to remove my waste yarn. The other thing that I might do, so I did 2 knit stitches, 2 rows of knit, and I might only do 1 because it rolls just a teeny tiny bit on this white side. So you can see how it rolls just a little bit. I think that was the bind off edge. So I'd probably only do 1 row of knit stitches instead of 2. Okay. This would make an awesome, quick and easy Christmas gift for those people that you just don't know what to get. So if you're looking for more quick and easy ideas just like this, check out our Christmas idea video. And make sure you hit the subscribe button below so that you can find out what we're doing in our next project. Okay, so I've set up my machine and knitted some waste yarn. So what we're going to do for this dishcloth is we're going to do a pattern like this one here. And so you'll see my pattern says that we need to do every other, then a row of knits, and then the opposite ones, and a row of knits. But the first thing we need to do is knit 2 rows of with our regular yarn. I'm at tension 4. I have cast on 40 stitches. Make sure your row counter is reset. You'll want to use that for your multiples of 8. Make sure that last stitch knit. Okay, so in order to do this tuck stitch after I did my 2 rows of regular knit, I am going to pull out every other needle. And I do not know where my every other needle pusher is, so we'll just do it like this. And you can use your hands to keep your fabric back. Okay, now we want to make sure our cam lever is up. You are still on tension 4. And I'm going to reset my row counter because we're working this in groups of 8. So I really want to be back at 0. And we're going to knit across. All right, and you can see how the yarn went over top of these needles. So now I'm going to come back, make sure my Russell lever is up, and do it again. Okay. I'm going to make sure my yarn is in there good. I'm going to go back across once more. My yarn is caught, of course. And now I'm going to go back across once more. But first, I'm going to move my lever back so it pulls all those needles back out of holding position. Why is this so annoying? Okay, and now we're going to have this cute little tuck there. So now this time, so we are on row 5, and so we skipped our first stitch last time, so this time we're going to pull that one out. So we want to make sure to hold your knitting back while we push those, every other one, into holding position. And we are going to knit 3 rows like that. Making sure that your string isn't too tight. Okay, and now on your 4th pass, you're going to switch your lever back and you're going to knit all stitches. Okay, so now our row counter should say 8, and we're going to start again. So if you remember, we're going to the 2nd needle over, and we're pushing every other one forward. We're going to make sure our Russell lever is back on both sides, and we're going to knit 3 rows. Our 3rd one, so now we're going to move the Russell lever forward and knit all stitches. Okay, and that is our tuck again. So now we are going to start on our end one and pull every other one out. We're going to make sure both of our Russell levers are back. We're going to knit 3 rows. For our 4th, we're going to move our Russell lever forward for our 4th row and knit. And there we go. We are going to continue. You can see this is doing some nice stripes now. We are going to continue this to row 40, and then we're going to knit 2 rows regular. Make sure that your cam levers are both back when you restart this for after row 16 for row 17. Okay, so I decided to go to 80 so that I have about a square washcloth. So now I'm going to knit 2 rows just plain. I'm going to make sure both of my Russell levers are forward and knit 2 rows. Okay, and now our dishcloth is ready to be bound off. Okay, so to bind off, I am going to use my gate pegs, I'm going to use the latch tool, and I'm going to do a crochet bind off with the latch tool. So I want to pull my yarn out. I guess I want to pull all my needles out, or mostly out. They don't have to go all the way, just so that they're past the latches. So I'm going to use my gate pegs here so that I don't end up with a really tight bind off. But what I want to do is I want to hook my latch tool into my needle. I want to pull it back through the yarn. I'm going to pull up so it passes the latch and pull it back, pull my yarn back through. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the next. So I'm going to push my latch tool up so that my loop goes below the latch. I'm going to pull my needle back and grab it with my latch tool, pull the loop onto my latch tool, push it up so that both loops are past my latch, grab my string through the latch and pull it through. Okay, so closer up, I'm going above my loop, I'm grabbing my needle, I'm continuing to pull it back so that my loop from my needle goes onto my latch tool. I push my latch tool up and grab my string. And try not to lose it in your latch tool. So push your latch tool up, grab the next needle, continue to push it through, push it up and grab the string. Okay. And again, we're pushing it up, grabbing the needle that you're pulling back with your hand, pushing it up and grabbing your string. Okay, when you get to the end, you want to continue in our last stitch. We're going to pull through. We're going to cut our yarn, pull it all the way through, and that secures your last stitch. And then you can pull it off of the gate pegs. I'm going to take my weight off first. Pull it off of the gate pegs. And there we have, this is adorable, a good size washcloth. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bind off the other end with a crochet needle, similar to the way that I just bound off with the needles, and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so in order to take my waist yarn off, I have to kind of bind off these stitches that I put on here. And hopefully you did a very contrasting yarn. It makes it really easy to see these stitches from your main yarn. So what we're going to do is a crocheted bind off. And I'm just going to stick my latch tool in, so you don't need any special things. And we're going to do it very similar to the bind off that you just did. So we are going to go through both loops, bring your string across, and make a loop. And as I'm doing this, I'm stuck for some reason. As we're doing this, I'm going to try to make sure that I make this nice and loose. I don't want this to be super tight bind off for my dishcloth. Then we're going over to the next one. Oh, I lost my loop. But it's nice and loose, so I guess we don't need to worry about that. Okay, and over to my next. Bring that through. Both my loops past the latch. Go through. You can see it's easy to adjust your yarn at any time for that last loop. And this is the way that we're going to continue across, and then you can easily remove your waste yarn. And your dishcloth will be done, except for just sewing in your ends, and you can just send them up the side or across any edge. You can tuck them in here so that you can't see your ends anymore.